Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeanette Logue, and I'll be the moderator tonight. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Reading area, I'd like to welcome you to the candidate forum for the recall election of District 2 Board of Supervisors member Leonard Modi. Vote by mail ballots have already gone out to voters in District 2 and must be received by the county by Election Day, February 1st. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We encourage informed and active participation in the political process. We never, ever, under any circumstances, endorse a candidate for office. In addition, this is a forum. It is not a debate. It's structured in such a way as to provide as much information as possible so voters can make wise decisions. Our league has decided to record this forum and not have our usual live voter audience because of COVID. The recording was posted on multiple well-publicized online sites the morning following the forum, which would be tomorrow, so voters in District 2 will have ample time to view it. Tonight's program will follow the league's standard format. Each candidate will make an initial presentation of up to 3 minutes about his background, areas of concern, and reasons for running for this office. The order of speaking has been determined by lot. Statements will be timed, and our timekeeper will hold up signs showing 1 minute, 15 seconds, and a stop sign when the time is up. All the questions, and there are 10 of them, relate to issues important to Shasta County, and also to the responsibilities of members of the Board of Supervisors. All the questions will be responded to by each candidate. Candidates will speak in rotation, so the same person is not always the first or the last to answer. This forum will end with a closing statement of up to 2 minutes by each candidate with no rebuttals. I'd like to welcome our candidates for District 2, Dale Ball, Tim Garman, and Leonard Modi. One of the candidates is not here in spite of efforts over the last few weeks to contact him in every way possible. Another candidate who confirmed attendance tonight has not arrived. So we will go with the 3 who did come tonight. So let's begin with the opening statements of up to 3 minutes each. Mr. Garman, you're first.
Are we good with the sound?
No.
Okay, I got it. Okay. First of all, thank you guys for inviting us here tonight. It's unfortunate the other 2 candidates didn't make it. It's always best that all the candidates can be heard by the voters. That way they have the best option for replacement. But anyway, a little bit about myself. I've lived in the North State my entire life. Grew up off of Jellies Ferry Road and just north of Red Bluff. I've been in Shasta County for over 20 years. My wife, we've been married for 25 years. Well, it will be 25 years in June of next year. 5 kids and 3 grandkids, which are the joy of my life. All my kids went kindergarten through 8th grade in Happy Valley School. So we're definitely local to that area in what is District 2 or what will be District 2 coming up soon. But that's okay. The reason, or some of the areas of concern that I have as far as the Board of Supervisors go is retirements. We keep on raising salaries with no way to pay the retirements that are coming up. We're going to be $1 billion shortfall if we're not careful with no way to pay. That's one of the problems I've got. Some of the areas of concern are crime and homeless. We need a better detention facility with more mental health facilities that need to coincide together to get our people off of the streets. When we just turn them back loose and they steal a car and they go out and steal 2 cars in the same day, it's just not good for anybody. So that's an area of concern. The illegal grows in our forest is something that really needs to be addressed. I want to be able to go like it was before. I can go in the forest with my kids and go find a creek and play, and the kids of this generation don't get that opportunity. It's just not safe. Another big one for me is people are losing their jobs because of this mask. Okay? People are losing their job because of the shot. That's a problem that we need to address. We cannot keep letting people lose their jobs. The reasons for running, I want to bring, thank you for the 1 minute sign. I want to bring community engagement back to the Board of Supervisors. As a school board member and president of Happy Valley School District, I've been the president of the board for 2+ years. I always let people speak past the time when it comes to the public comment session. I do not stop them at 3 minutes. I do not stop them at 20 minutes. If somebody comes in the audience, they took the time to drive there, sit there, if they want to be heard, they have a right to be heard. Whether I agree with them or not, it is only right for us to hear those people. By doing that, that will bring some trust back between the community and the Board of Supervisors. Right now, the trust is gone. So that's my main objective with that, is to bring the trust back to the Board of Supervisors. And it can be done. It's just a matter of us being out there and doing it. Families are being torn apart with the vaccines. It's terrible, disgusting. So anyway, I think that about wraps up my time. Otherwise, I can go on all night. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Mr. Ball?
Thank you for hosting this forum. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate everyone watching and those that were able to come tonight. It is, as Tim said, unfortunate that everyone that is applying for this job can't come out and give the information on themselves. I'm a lifelong resident of Shasta County, lived here all my life, owned businesses, been a part of this community, a community that we see crime rates continue to rise. We're one of the highest crime rates in the state and in the country. We have some of the most stolen cars in the entire country. We've been on the top 10 of that list for quite some time. And I just have seen the failures year after year of not addressing these crime problems, not having the jail beds to hold people accountable. About 8 years ago, I started a group, volunteer group, Shasta Support Service, and we started taking care of some of the problems that the county and the cities weren't taking care of, cleaning up homeless encampments, saving private property owners thousands of dollars in fines that they were looking at. Once their properties got overran by the homeless camps, then they were held accountable. It's all these shortcomings that I saw through the years of doing all this volunteer work that made me decide to run for supervisor. I think we can do so much better as a community. We should be able to have a safe community to raise children, for tourists to come, and for businesses to want to bring their money here and spend it with economic development. And right now, we just don't have that. We have people leaving, we have businesses closing, and it's not a safe place to raise your kids like it used to be because of the out-of-control crime, the homelessness, the mental health problems we have. We can do so much better than what we're doing now. And that's why I'm running for District 2 Supervisor.
Thanks, Mr. Ball. Mr. Roddy?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for having this event. I am a lifetime resident, born and raised here in this community, as is my wife and our 2 children. I attended Shasta High School. From then I went to the University of Notre Dame. I have a business degree, a bachelor's degree in business management. And then later on, a few years later, I attended USC, where I have an MBA in business finance. In 1977, I joined the Reading Police Department, had a 31-year career there, rising through the ranks, officer, sergeant, lieutenant, and then from lieutenant to chief. During my time there, I served or was part of or in charge of every single specialized unit in the department. I also spent 10 years teaching at the Butte Police Academy. I've been to the FBI National Law Enforcement Academy as well as the Post Command College. I became the chief of the Reading Police Department in 2002, where I took over a 185-person department as well as a $26 million budget. I have served in my community for many, many years. I've been on the Mercy Foundation board for 14 years, Centerville CSD. I was elected to that board for 13 years. I've served on the Shasta YMCA board 10 years. I was on the Leadership Reading board for 5 years, the Shasta Regional Community Foundation board for 5 years, Reading Rotary for 15 years, and on the side, I was a football announcer for Shasta High School for 20 years. In 2008, I became a supervisor for Shasta County, District 2. And I want people to understand it's not just a board meeting on Tuesday that we go to, but we each have other assignments. I have 14 other boards that I sit on for the county. including 5 agencies that deal with water, the Enterprise Anderson Groundwater Sustainability Agency, the Northern Sac Valley Integrated Regional Water Management Board, and 3 others. I also serve on a forestry committee board. I'm on the transportation board and a 10-county EMS board. One of the biggest assignments I have is being a board member and on the executive committee of what's called CSAC, which is the County State Association of Counties, very similar to the League of Cities. I also serve on as their treasurer currently and the president of their finance corporation. I think there are many issues that are being talked about here, and one thing to keep in mind is you have to be able to pay for it. Everybody would like to have 50 more deputies, much more housing, maybe more jails, and those are things that we're working on. I will talk about here later in this conversation. But you have to be able to pay for everything that you have. And then I'll just wrap it up by saying that I have the support of the local business community, as well as the Deputy Sheriff's Association, and I hope everybody will look to those people for their input. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mooney. The first question is going to be timed at 2 minutes each, and Mr. Ball, you'll be the first responder to the first question. We assume that each of you wants to be a productive member of the Board of Supervisors, if elected. Please describe what that means to you. Mr. Ball.
To me, it means being available to the community for one. It also means doing the work, actually being out in the community, not just showing up for the meetings, working for the community 40 hours a week, 7 days a week if you need be. You should be accessible. That's why my cell phone is numbers out there. Everybody in the community has it. If they need something, they can call or text me. And as a board member, I will continue to do that. I will be someone that they can reach out to and call or text, get a hold of me, and I will go out and take care of the problems, as I've been doing for years with my community volunteer group. I think that's very important that you're accessible to everyone in the community, not just the few friends that have your phone number and are the ones that you want to respond to. I also believe as a supervisor, we ought to be able to start having some night meetings to allow those that work to engage with the supervisors and be more involved with the process.
Thank you. Mr. Levy?
Yes, thank you. Well, certainly part of the role of a supervisor is connecting with the community, and that does include meeting people in the evenings, weekends, and attending community events, or just meeting people at their residence or at their neighborhood to deal with some of the issues. But it's not just that. It means being collaborative with your fellow board members. You need to work together to get things done. There's many, many projects that have to be addressed, and we should be doing that on a more collaborative basis. It's also meaning you're connected with the rest of your colleagues, which are not just in this county. You don't get the work done and the support that you need at the state level without building relationships with your fellow supervisors throughout the state. As I mentioned before, I sit on CSAC. That's a organization of the 58 counties. We meet on a regular basis, and we are the ones who take issues to the state legislature to get things accomplished. One perfect example of that is just recently that CSAC and the counties got together and pushed really hard for broadband in all of the states. Well, that meant all the counties, and that would not have happened without support from the urban counties, because they don't really need it like we do. But you need to get them on board, and with my collaboration, being able to talk to those other people, getting Orange County, for instance, or Fresno County to vote for it, has now allowed and made for the governor to put into his budget over $6.5 billion, along with what's going to come from the feds, to help with broadband in our North State. So that's just one example of how you get things done by working on a more collaborative approach. It also means knowing the personnel in the departments and working with them, making sure that they have all the tools that they need, and making sure that you have the finances to pay for all the programs that are out there, and understanding what those are that come from the state. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Mooney. The last will be first and all that, so you're going to be the first answer and responder to this next question. Yes.
No, he doesn't. Tim has a
Doesn't he get to finish?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, I'm so
okay.
sorry.
That's okay, so make sure we're all right.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so what does it mean to be a productive member of the Board of Supervisors? Trust. You have to have trust between the public and the supervisors. To be a supervisor, number one, you've got to do that. You do got to get engaging with the community, make that a positive experience, not a negative one. You do have to get things done. You do have to meet with different business people. I've been doing that the last few weeks. I've been going out and meeting with different business owners in this town, in this county, and they all do not even agree with me. Some of them, in fact, have even supported Mr. Modi of this recall effort. But I spent 2 hours talking with one of them yesterday. And that's the kind of leadership that this county needs, is somebody to come in and to be able to get involved with all aspects of it, not just their so-called people in their back pocket. We want to get everybody involved. Open communication is going to help. Moving some supervisor meetings around to different times of the day, I think, is necessary to give the public a chance to be heard. Maybe even going to some different locations periodically would be a good thing as well. Thank you. And again, just communication, obviously, is a key to everything in life and society. And that was started even on the Board of Supervisors. And I emailed some of the other members of the Board of Supervisors and hoping to get some relationships built there. So when I take office, we can make this thing work from the get-go. Well, that's about all I've got for this one for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. So, Mr. Mooney, next question, and this will be for 1 minute only, just a shortie. What do you think are your strongest 1 or 2 personal characteristics that are important to someone who serves on the Board of Supervisors, and what sets you apart from these candidates?
Well, I think one of my strongest characteristics is my integrity. I feel very strongly about that. I think that telling the truth is extremely important. I think the other thing that I bring to the board is my financial background. You have to understand that we're dealing with a $500 million budget. Many of those dollars come from the state and Fed that are directing programs that we have to implement here in our county, even though they're state programs. And my ability to understand those programs and what it means is, I think, extremely important. Also, I think my ability to work with a lot of different people. I've been able to connect, as I mentioned, with people around the state, but also many organizations within our community and those different neighborhoods and communities in my district. I think that as well as understanding the differences that people have and know that that's okay, but you need to work together to resolve issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Mr. Berman.
Okay.
I hope I don't screw up again. Okay.
Okay.
Strongest 1 or 2 characteristics I can speak that I have is going to be number 1 is I'm an open book. I'm honest. You're going to get what you see. So that trustworthiness is there. But what I can really bring to the Board of Supervisors in this realm is the ability to bring people together who don't always agree. This is something that's very, very important as we try to put our country back together and our county back together, is to bring everybody to the table even if they don't agree. You sit down and have a civil conversation without rude language, that stuff has to go away. And I feel like I can bring that back to our people in Shasta County. Combine that with the trustworthiness, and that's what I'm going to bring to the Board of Supervisors.
Thanks, Mr. Berman. Mr. Ball?
My strongest suits, I think, are my ability to bring people together. I've been able to bring hundreds of community volunteers in different groups together to help our community through volunteer work. Every day as superintendent of operations at a multi-million-dollar construction company, we've got 10, 15 jobs going on, and my job is to bring those jobs in on time, on budget, and make customers happy. So I honestly think that the county could use a lot of that when it comes to the way we spend money and the way we have no oversight over a lot of different groups, especially when it comes to spending money on homelessness that's not effective, mental health, and money that could be going to jail debts.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Okay, next question. Mr. Garland, you're going to be first, I hope. This is 2 minutes long for response. Our Board of Supervisors oversees many departments that have distinct and varied responsibilities. What experience have you had, such as running a business, working on a board, working with public sector agencies and public budgets, that has prepared you for this work? Mr. Garland.
Thank you. Okay, some of the experience I can rate that is I've been a school board member for 5 years. Obviously, it's a lot shorter or a lot smaller of a scale as opposed to the Board of Supervisors, but we still are responsible for bringing the budget together and getting our school on the right side of things, which we've done a wonderful job. When I first took the position, we made some hard calls and we basically had to rip the Band-Aid off to get ourselves on the right side of things, and that's what we did. And now we are very successful. We have a good outlook for the future. And some of the other work that I've done is, I worked in sales for the past 5 years, very successful. I've spoken at many different events across the country over the last few years as a leader and how to lead people to make them more successful in life. And I something I can bring to the board as well, to our community, is just how to bring us again, how to bring us back together. And as far as the public budgets, again, I'm going to go back to the school board with that. I haven't worked with the public other than the school board. Thank you for the time. I haven't worked with the public other than the school board as far as budgeting or being involved in any larger scale stuff with that. But I took on the school board, and they elected me for president for the 3rd year in a row, so I must be doing something correctly there. I look forward to taking the next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. Thank you, Mr. Hall.
I think some of my last statements kind of apply right over this with my job and the volunteer work. Also, I've been a business owner in Shasta County since 1986 until here recently. Running those businesses has given me the experience to know how to, don't spend above your means. You don't go out and spend money you don't have. You don't get yourself into debt. And unfortunately, we have almost $1 billion of unfunded liabilities that need to be addressed. I sat on the board for the COC for 2 years, which is the continuum of care for 7 counties where all of our money comes in for the homelessness problems through HUD. So I see the programs that work, I see the programs that didn't work that we continue to spend money on. Almost a decade of attending city council and board of supervisors meetings. I've sat in on many of the budget meetings. I've watched the process, and I think we have a lot of room for improvement.
Thank you.
Can I bring in a question, Jim?
Sure. Our Board of Supervisors oversees many departments that have distinct and varied responsibilities. What experience have you had, such as running a business, working on a board, working with public sector agencies and public budgets, that has prepared you for this work?
Thank you. Well, first of all, you're correct. We have 31 departments in the county, and they are distinct and separate. Some are run by appointed department heads, others by elected department heads, and each of those bring different characteristics with them. My experience goes back not only with my 13 years already serving on the county, very familiar with all the workings internally and externally, but also my time with the Reading Police Department. As a lieutenant, I was in charge to put together and facilitate our entire budget for the police department, $26 million. I did that by working with the finance department and the personnel there at the city to make sure we had everything in line and in place, and we were always within our budget by the end of the year. There's been some discussion about unfunded liabilities, but this county's already been working on that. People may not be aware of that or paying attention, but it's been done. Our current unfunded liability is $143 million, but we've been working on paying that off, and by 2025 that will be down to 0. So we've already taken steps to do that, to reduce our costs and make sure that we get things within line. So it's a matter of taking your priorities seriously, working together with solutions, and and rather than just, it's easy to complain about things, but it's much harder to fix it or find a solution. And we are working in doing that currently in the county on a number of issues, including the public safety campus, mental health, housing, and we will continue to do that as we work forward.
Thanks, Mr. Mooney. The next question, the first answer will be Mr. Ball, and it's 1 minute long. This question is, what do you think are the 1 or 2 biggest challenges facing Shasta County? And what do you think Board of Supervisors could do to address these challenges?
2 biggest problems?
I know the 2 biggest challenges facing Shasta County.
I think crime would have to be one of our biggest problems. Homelessness would probably be right there behind it, and we've got lots of work to do. As far as crime, I mean, talking to any law enforcement agency, we need more jail beds. All the counties around us, the counties like size, all have more jail beds than we do. We've failed miserably giving back to the state millions of dollars that could have given us those jail beds. Now there's going to be some talk that we didn't have that money, and that's just not true. We did, and we didn't even have to fully staff the jail. We could have built. We could have partially staffed it and came up with the funds later to fully staff it. As far as homelessness, as I talked about, we need to address that, and we need to spend funds on successful programs.
Thank you. Mr. Moody?
Well, certainly I agree that public safety is our #1 issue. It has always been for me as the former police chief. Mr. Ball always tries to bring up the issue about the past funding for the jails, but the problem is our sheriff never gave us accurate information on how much money it would cost to run the jail. And we stood the possibility of building a jail without the ability to staff it and run it. And then the biggest issue that we were facing, because this was back when there was the overcrowding in prisons, is that the state who owned the building would have looked at us and said, well, you're not using it, we're going to use it for a state prison. And guess what, Redding? You're not now like Susanville, you have people from state prisons in your community. So we chose not to do that. In fact, it was a 5-0 vote by the board not to do that, as well as agreement by the district attorney and the sheriff. The other issue, as far as certainly housing is a huge issue, and the homelessness. But one of the things I think is even more critical at the moment is our drought and wildfire experiences, and we are working to do that.
Thanks, Mr. Moody. Mr. Gorman?
Okay, this is unfortunately a 1 minute answer and only 1 or 2 problems. We could have 40 challenges to put up in this one. But the 2 biggest challenges I see, and I'm hearing this from everybody I've been talking to in this last couple of weeks, is permit issues. I'm not saying that's the biggest problem, it is a problem that I'm hearing on a daily basis. We have to figure out how to get the permits issued in a timely manner for these businesses so they can move our county forward with the construction projects. Another one issue that I really have is the homeless and the crime and all that. I think we're all on the same board with that. We have to figure that out because we are all losing family and friends to different states, different areas to get out of this mess that we're in. We have to figure out a way to clean that up, and we need to talk with the other like-minded counties if need be and figure this out, clean up our streets, and stop letting our people right back on the street. It just, we can't. I'm sick of seeing my family leave, and I'm sure you guys are too.
Thanks, Mr. Gorman. This next question, Mr. Moody, will be the first person to answer. It's a 1 minute question. Homelessness comes up repeatedly at Board of Supervisors meetings as a major issue in Shasta County, both for those who do not have a place to live and also for those who do. What are your ideas about how to address this problem?
Yeah, actually, I've already been working on that again through my CSAC contacts at the state level. I mentioned before, one of the boards that I sit on is the Finance Corporation for CSAC, and the Finance Corporation has a program out there through the California Statewide Community Development Authority, and we've been working on workforce housing as a huge way to develop and provide additional housing in many communities. As we all know, it's way too expensive and most people cannot afford it. This is an effort to do that. Through our efforts with the state and through the counties pushing hard for this, Just in this last year alone, we've developed over 7,000 units that were converted to housing. And I said in just 12 months. So that's one opportunity that we're doing right now to provide additional affordable housing throughout all our communities.
Thanks, Mr. Moody. Mr. Gorman?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question for me?
Yes. Homelessness comes up repeatedly at Board of Supervisors meetings as a major issue in our county, both for those who don't have a place to live and also for those who do. What are your ideas about how to address this problem?
This is a 1 minute answer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Homeless is a problem. We know some folks that are, they own a home, they choose to be on the streets and be part of the drug crowd, and it's really unfortunate. So I kind of take this and I break it down. You have the true homeless people who got kicked out of their homes, they lost their job for one reason or another, and those people truly need a hand up. And that we need to figure out how to provide for those people. And I think with some of the services we have, we can do that. I think a good forensic audit would show us where some monies might come from. We can clean some stuff up and make some more stuff available. The other side of it is you have the vagrants who are just out there on the streets wanting to, just terrorize the town and terrorize the people. This has to be cleaned up. So again, it's a two-part answer. In 1 minute, it's not here enough time. But thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Gorman. Mr. Ball?
I think I've touched on this already on most of it, but we need to address the problem, first of all. We need to stop spending county money with special interest groups who are only worried about making a bunch of money instead of actually addressing the problem, actually getting people off the streets. We do a point-in-time count every year, and our numbers keep staying the same, as the state and the federal government keeps throwing millions of dollars at this problem. As I've been in these camps for years, cleaning up, talking to people, there's programs that help those that want the help, and then there's those, like he said, that just don't mind being a criminal. We need to enforce the law. We need to enforce the illegal camping, the illegal fires, and address these problems so our community members can feel safe without getting, everything broken into, businesses robbed, having to deal with human feces at your front door every morning when you go to work.
Thank you. This next question gives time 2 minutes for response, and the first person will be you, Mr. Carter. And as I've said before, some of these questions are a little long, so if you'd like me to repeat them, I have no problem doing that. By law, counties in California are the primary providers of health care for low-income people who don't have any other health coverage. Shasta County does not compare favorably with most other counties in terms of the health of its residents. Do you have any ideas about things that our county can do to encourage better health outcomes?
You have to repeat that.
Okay. Okay, by law, counties in California are the primary providers of health care for low-income people who have no other health insurance, health coverage. Shasta County does not compare favorably with most other counties in terms of the health of its residents. Do you have any ideas about things that our county can do to encourage better health outcomes?
That's a great question, and I haven't really thought in those regards with that. What can we do as a county? I'd like to know where the data is too on how we match up with other counties and what that's pertaining to specifically. It would help this question a lot to have more details. Some of the things we can do is just encourage people we have to do more stuff for their kids. I think it starts there. They got to be able to get outside and exercise and whatnot. And just not right to see these kids locked up and not be allowed to get out and see each other and all that. I'm sorry, I'm not answering your question, but it's just a little off base for me. I'm sorry. But we need to find programs to help our people get healthier. I know there's weight issues and obesity is a problem. I've been fighting that for years. I've lost 60 pounds in the last 10 years, but it's a battle. So we need to find programs that can help our youth and get them out in the community. I'll just leave it at that for now, because I can think more on that later.
Thanks, Mr. Kerman.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ball.
Not surprising that we rank down there. It kind of seems like a pattern with our county and the failures. Health and Human Services could certainly do a lot better job with the millions of dollars they receive. You can go right on their Facebook page and you don't see anything about eating healthy, being healthy, preventing, these problems. The last couple of years, I think the only thing we see on their Facebook page is a daily vaccine. There's a lot more things we could be doing as a county. I think we've got a lot of partners and private groups that have really stepped up, like Hill Country, the Rancherias, Health Clinic, that has helped those low incomes where the county has failed. And I really am thankful that we do have those.
Thank you. Mr. Moody?
And this is 2 minutes?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, again, it's pretty easy to just throw gasoline on the fire and complain about things, but there are things that actually are being done for those who actually take the time to look for it. Health and Human Services has multiple programs that help educate families and children on proper eating habits, exercise. They work in partnership with the hospitals to do that, have a number of programs that support that. There's also First 5, which is very an effort to help kids at the early ages to get them off to a good start. I actually do sit on 2, first of all, the county is a partnership with Partnership Health, which involves a number of the North State counties, where we reach out directly to those who are the lower income and disadvantaged people to help them with their healthcare needs, not only post but previous to it as well, so perhaps you can prevent diseases. I also sit on the County Medical Services Provider Program. It's an organization that is 36 counties throughout the state that provides services for medical issues for people throughout the counties. Before the Affordable Care Act came along, they provided all the indigent health care for counties, but now we've pivoted and are now using more of our resources and efforts to develop programs to reach out to those who are less fortunate, perhaps not as educated about the opportunities to have better health for their family and their kids, and also developing programs that provide services in the different areas of 36 counties that will help people get into a better lifestyle, a better life habit, and better opportunities to keep themselves healthy. So those programs are out there and being used even today.
Thank you. All right, the next question is 1 minute for 1 minute response. And Mr. Moore, you are the first to answer this one. County supervisors take an oath to uphold both the Constitution of the United States and that of the state of California. If the state legislature passes a law or the governor issues a mandate, do you think the Board of Supervisors should comply? And please explain your answer.
Well, if you take an oath to the Constitution, both federally and state, you should adhere to that oath, plain and simple. If the governor is putting out mandates that are unconstitutional, then you're kind of in a catch-22 on that. But I think there's a lot of areas that we can do better. When we have our local health and human services turning businesses into OSHA and ABC and other things like that, instead of just working with them, we're failing those local businesses greatly. I think we have a lot of work to do there. But I will uphold to that oath to the Constitution, first and foremost.
Thank you. Mr. Moody?
You have 1 minute?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely, you should honor your oath to the Constitution of both the United States and California. And I find it very interesting that people have come to us on many occasions at our board meetings and argue that we shouldn't, that we should ignore that. You can't. That's a travesty of justice. You can't do that. You may not agree with it, and you may say that the mandates are unlawful, but quite frankly, they've been challenged in court and throughout the state, and the governor and the state have won on every court case when it gets to the higher levels. So what you have to do is work within the system. You have to work around it and try to get things compromised and work together. I work personally with the governor's chief of staff and with the California Department of Public Health Director, Dr. Galley, on a number of occasions, having conversations with them about what was happening. I'm the first one in the North State that said one size does not fit all and argued that you need to make allowances for the counties that were different from LA.
Thank you. Mr. Gorman?
I will absolutely uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California. That's a no-brainer probably for all of us. But the question was, should the Board of Supervisors uphold the state's laws or mandates? First of all, I will argue that the mandates are not laws, and I get some court cases that happen, but there are still more to come, possibly some from our school even. But as far as, I will not uphold a mandate. A mandate is not law, it's not the legislation that gets a little bit trickier. And again, at that point, we need to definitely work together and try to find a solution for our county, because our county is different. But again, the Constitution protects us from tyranny, and if there's a law comes across that I view as tyranny, then I will not support it.
Thanks, Mr. Gorman. The next question is a 1-minute response time, and Mr. Moody's first. What mechanisms do you use, and for you two gentlemen, do you plan to use in communicating with the residents of District 2? What mechanisms in communication with voters in District 2?
Well, certainly we have the opportunity that they can come to our board meetings and speak to us, but most of the time it's through personal contacts. I receive emails, phone calls, sometimes letters from people and asking for help or some kind of explanation, and what I try to do immediately is to either reach out to them by phone or they email me through an email system. And then many times when I'll just meet with them personally, maybe at the coffee shop, maybe at their residence. I look forward to those conversations, a great opportunity to talk about what's occurring in their part of the district and what they're concerned about. I look forward to always trying to help them cut through the red tape. I can't always solve the problem for them because the law is the law, but at least I can find out what the answer is and get an explanation to them so that they're aware of what's happening and why. It's always important to try to at least keep them informed and help them through the process.
Thank you. Mr. Gorman?
Thank you. Communication. My number's all over Facebook, it's all over the internet. Anybody can call me anytime. I would go to school board meetings. I've never seen our supervisor at any of our school board meetings in the last 5 years. People in my district complain he's never been to a fire meeting, that they used to get Bocinco to come to those. So I want to go to the different boards throughout my district, at least once a month. I want to hit every board once a year, and just in person, so I can understand what is going on in that school district. What do those parents feel? Not just the school or the administrators. What do the people feel? So just getting out about the community and asking questions and listening to the community is number one. Number two is, again, my phone numbers. Thank you for the time. Emails, whatever kind of communication it takes. That is my strength.
Thank you. Mr. Ball?
I think Tim hit the nail on the head there, is communication and being accessible and actually participating out in the community. I'm at the water board meetings. I'm at the fire district meetings out in Old Shasta. I'm involved with the community and have a pulse on what's going on. Along with social media, a lot of people have problems that they just, will talk on the different little groups that are in the different areas, and you can communicate with them right there, answer their questions, instead of, going through days, if not hours, days on end of emails. You can just, quick answer really quick and take care of the problem. And you need to be accessible. You need to be able for people to communicate and get a hold of you who don't have computers or internet, that they can just pick up the phone and call you. And that's like Tim said, my number's everywhere. It's public information, everybody has it.
Thank you. We have two questions remaining, and they're both pretty long. I'm just going to warn you. And Mr. Gorman, I think you're first on this one. This is a 2-minute response. The question will probably take 2 minutes just to read it, but maybe not to respond. One of the many responsibilities of the Board of Supervisors is to adequately fund the county coroner's office. The Shasta County Grand Jury's final report for the 2021 fiscal year was recently published, and it finds many deficiencies in both the facility, inadequate and does not meet minimum standards, and the operation of the coroner's office. One recommendation in the report is that the Board of Supervisors consider using CARES Act monies for 2022 to upgrade and modernize the facility to meet industry standards. What do you think about this recommendation?
I think what they're asking for is asking for money is one thing from the CARES Act. I think that's trash. I think everybody wants CARES money, and CARES money is not real money. It's going to go away. You can't depend on that. I think a zero-based budget would be the way to tackle this issue right here. Find out what the needs are and budget it accordingly every year. And we got to do a forensic budget, come in with zero-based budgeting, and I think that'll be some answers will come up from that. I'm not a fan of the CARES money in any way, shape, or form, because we're going to get used to that money, and then we're going to try to budget off of that for the following years, and all of a sudden one day it's going to be ripped away. And then you talk about a Band-Aid you have to rip off. That Band-Aid just became stitches you're going to rip out, and our county's going to bleed to death, and we cannot let that happen. So that's my answer to that question.
Thank you. Mr. Wall?
I've been talking with some people that actually have left the coroner's office for the last year, so I'm not surprised about the grand jury report at all. And that's what happened when you appoint a sheriff instead of the community electing a sheriff. Obviously, things were not being dealt with properly, and here we are now. The facility should not be needing the upgrades it needed if we would have been doing the right things all along. So now we're kind of behind the 8 ball on getting this fixed, and we want to spend CARES Act money to fix a problem that should have been taken care of years ago. I'm not a big fan on that. The CARES Act money should be going for the problems that were COVID related, not something that was because we didn't do our job right. So I have a big problem spending that CARES Act money because of Shasta County's failures. That's kind of where I stand on that.
Thank you. Mr. Roddy?
Give the time limit 2 minutes.
Yes.
Well, first of all, let's just straighten out this thing about the sheriff. Again, people unfamiliar or just don't want to listen to what the law is. When a sheriff leaves in the middle of his term, you don't have a special election. You're not allowed to have a special election. You have to appoint a sheriff or go without a sheriff. You can't just say, oh, we're going to have a special election. It just doesn't work that way. That's the law. As to the CARES Act money, or quite frankly, even the ARPA money that's coming, one thing is correct, that you should consider that as one-time money and use it for that type of situation. I would never want to use one-time money for ongoing operations. And that's why some of this money may be very helpful, because a lot of the issues with the coroner's office is one-time money to be fixed, to fix the issues that are there. And then it's just basically, the coroner's office is not the only issue that has problems. Our South County substation is in which probably should be a condemned double-wide trailer. But we're working on our new emergency operations center, which is going to include an upgrade for enough space for our substation to move over there. And we're going to be able to put that in place. That's that emergency operations center, because we bought an existing building, it was up to snuff. We'll probably save ourselves $10 million versus building a new one. So it's taking what you have and making better use of it with the money. So in case of the coroner's office, it's under the sheriff's jurisdiction. We do have a new sheriff. He's trying to work with the CEO. Our CEO has brought a host of new ideas to help us look at prospectively at our finances and how we can use it. And he's already has plans on the drawing boards to help resolve this issue and move forward. So again, it's not about always just complaining about something, but it's actually putting plans in place to fix it.
Thank you. This is the last question, and then we'll have 2-minute statements. I think Mr. Paul is going to be first to answer this last question.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. This is the last of our questions, and then we'll have the 2-minute summaries from each of you gentlemen. And this is a 2-minute, Mr. Paul. And it's a long one. AB 1185, which became law on January 1st, 2021, authorizes counties to establish a civilian sheriff oversight board to assist boards of supervisors with their duties as they relate to the sheriff's office. Several counties have already established such boards, and many more are in the process of doing so. Are you in support of such a committee? And please explain your answer.
I'm not real well versed on this, I will admit. So I would have to do some more research on it, but it sounds like if it's something that's required, then we should be doing it. If other counties are doing it, we should be doing it. I think any board with oversight is usually a good thing over a sheriff's department. So without more research, I can't really comment more than that.
Thank you. Mr. Mooney?
Yes, this particular law puts in place that there may be an oversight board of your sheriff's office, not required. It's something that's being looked at, as mentioned, around the state. I think there's certainly worthwhile investigating and looking at this opportunity to see if it's appropriate for our area. I'm not sure that it is yet. I think in some of the larger areas where you've got major problems, certainly LA County has gone through a host of issues, as well as I believe Orange County for a number of years. It maybe makes a lot more sense for those. But this is one of those situations where, again, where I argued earlier that maybe one size does not fit all. Shasta County is a smaller county. The population is much closer to their law enforcement, much more connected with them and aware of them. But certainly there are some issues that have come up recently with some of the what appears to be perhaps white supremacy going on in our sheriff's office, at least for a moment or two with some employees. And maybe it is time to take a serious look at have that organization put in place to help with that. It is important for the public to understand that the sheriff is an elected position. He has total control over his department. He runs it as he sees fit. The only responsibility and authority that we have is to control his budget and where that money is spent. So having an extra pair of eyes certainly might be beneficial, and I'm certainly willing to consider it.
Thank you. Mr. Murray?
Yeah, I'm kind of ill this way. I don't know a lot about this. However, I will just start with, I think oversight at any time is a good thing. We should not be scared of that. I don't know what the details are to put an oversight committee or an oversight board in place to look at this, but it definitely needs to be researched and looked at by the board of supervisors. And we do have problems in our streets. It is not a small problem, so I would really lean towards digging into this really deeply. And if it makes sense, then we're absolutely going to do it.
Thank you. Well, that's our 10 questions for tonight. And we've reached the point where we have, each of you has an opportunity to make an up to 2-minute closing statement. And I believe, Mr. Moody, you're going to be first on this.
Great. Thank you. Thank you again for having this event. Glad I had an opportunity to be here and to speak to the public directly on some of these issues. I want to go back just quickly to a couple of things that I touched on earlier but didn't finish up on. One was the public safety campus. It is something that we're working on already. We've already allocated $9 million towards this effort. It's not just a detention facility, but it's also building the other resources that go along with it to help deal with rehabilitation and perhaps even some mental health issues for those who are committing crimes. Certainly someone who is committing acts of crime but are have mental health issues need to be in a different situation to help them. We're also working on other issues. We have a brand new South County fire station being constructed even as we speak. It's going to be down on Riverside Drive. It's going to give us great coverage in the south area. And then also I want to mention, as I just briefly talked about, the effort to deal with drought and wildfire. Again, working with the state, we have worked through CSAC to working towards appropriating $7 billion. Dealing with wildfire resiliency in our community is huge. We've suffered through the Carr Fire, the Fawn Fire, the Zata Fire, the Delta Fire, the Hertz Fire. So we need to continue to push really hard for that. And one of the other issues that we're working on is behavioral health facilities in all of our communities. And we're working on $700 million from the state to start bringing those to communities like ours that don't have the resources, such as the big counties. And then finally, I just want to say that I'm proud to be a leader with the county, to work on the board of supervisors. I bring a lot of history and background to this job. I think I have a lot of the experience that is needed, particularly during these difficult times. And I would just say, if you need more information, please go to my website, 2022.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Kermit, you're next.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for hosting this event. Again, I wish all of us would have been here, so the audience could have seen all of our candidacies. But anyway, one of the things I want to talk about is about 15 years ago, 2 of my daughters were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. It was a eye-opening experience to have both life flights to UC Davis 3 weeks apart at 9 and 14 years old. We got out of the hospital, and one day they told us, you got to figure out how much insulin you give your daughter yourself. And I thought I was going to kill my child. So I had 2 things I could do. I could either go cry in a room and count about it, or do something about it. We chose to do something about it and started the type 1 diabetes support group. It was very, very successful. We had people coming from all over the North State counties to these meetings. We used to hold at Mercy Medical Center. We were holding those just before COVID. Now we can't because of that. So I have the ability to lead people. And again, in the last 12 years, Shasta County, we just continued to go downhill and downhill and downhill. I don't sit on 14 boards. I don't have 14,000 degrees and all those things that Mr. Woody may have. What I have is I ask the common sense that I'm more than willing to bring to the board and a different perspective that I think that this county needs. I have the smarts, I have the willingness to learn what needs to happen, and I will make this happen. I will get this county back together. I will get us communicating and bring us back to some public trust. There's not the public trust in the supervisors. It's always an uphill battle. I've been to one of the meetings, and everybody here will attest to it. They're just chaos. There's no order, and you're never going to get order until you start listening to everybody. And so start listening to each other. Let's work together. Let's get Shasta County back, and it's a place we want to be proud to call home.
Thank you. Mr. Lowell?
As the others stated, thank you for putting this on and hosting for us to do this. Wanted to touch base on a couple things. I did not state that we should have a special election. I understand the law very well. What I was touching on is the fact that you appointed a guy that obviously wasn't qualified. His own deputies and his admins voted no confidence, and the fact that the coroner problem fell in there just proves that. Also, we can go back to the $20 million that was given back that could have built jail beds. We have the money through the AB 109 that we get $8 to $9 million a year. Could have staffed that, but again, you didn't have to fully staff it. And the board did vote 5-0, and all those supervisors have pretty much said it's the biggest mistake they ever made, except for this one. Along with the sheriff, he also had stated that. Again, as Tim has mentioned, we need some unity. We need people who can partnership with the city of Reading, with Shasta Lake City and Anderson, which I've been very involved with all those leaders in those areas. And I think I have the ability to work with them to solve some of these problems, because Shasta County can't solve the crime and homelessness by themselves. We need to work with those other agencies and come together with a plan and address them head on. Again, thank you for having us. I also just kind of want to say that we've had 3 of these candidate forums, and it's really sad when you have one person being recalled and 4 running for the seat, and Tim and I are the only 2 that have actually attended all 3 events.
Thanks, Mr. Lowell. I do want to say that the League of Women Voters puts an extremely high priority on providing information to voters in these candidate forums directly from the candidates themselves. It's not advertising, and there's no chaos in the room. They are well structured, and I think it provides an opportunity for the candidates themselves to answer questions which, by the way, they have not seen before, so there's no advanced preparation possible for them. So you 3 have shown up tonight, and in doing so, you've shown respect to the voters of District 2, and you've abided by the time signs that we have, which I greatly appreciate. And so I do want to thank you very much for coming. It is a shame that the other 2 have decided not to be here, but that is their choice. Everybody who's watching this tonight, live stream, or might be watching tomorrow or another day on one of the sites where it will be rebroadcast, I hope that regardless of political views or who what your decision is, how you will vote on this ballot, I do hope that you will all tell other people in District 2 to please take an hour and watch this, because I don't think that voters will have a clearer view than what has happened tonight of what each of these 3 men are about as far as being on the Board of Supervisors is concerned. So again, thank you very, very much, and I wish you the best of your